Well, this week National Cabinet moved to increase the 5-year national housing target from 1 million to 1.2 million, with a $3 billion incentive for state governments to overshoot that housing target. But the real question is whether or not this actually translates into bricks and mortar. Well, Executive Director of Business New South Wales, David Harding, joins me now. David, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
It's a pretty ambitious plan, 1.3 million houses. At the same time as you have building companies falling over faster than they have in years, I think I read this week that the number of insolvencies for building companies is up 101%. How do we actually achieve this?
Well, absolutely right. And productivity and well-being when it comes to housing go hand in glove. We can't have a growing economy if we can't afford the people near the jobs that they need. And underpinning all of that is what is effectively a quite broken system. The planning system across Australia works in very different ways. Here in Sydney and New South Wales, it takes a great deal longer to get your planning up than it does, say, in Victoria or Queensland, and that's a known fact. But without that certainty of planning, all the money that we put into it is welcome, but we need to fix the fundamentals underneath so that the industry can step forward, so that builders can step forward, so that manufacturers can step forward and get the right houses where we need them, near the jobs, at the right price for the right people.
Well, how do we do it? I mean, what are those fundamentals?
Well, the fundamentals are planning policy needs to be predictable, it needs to be quick, it needs to be understandable, and it needs to rely much more on technology. There's absolutely an opportunity here to have standardised design pieces that don't need to be looked at by local government as though they've never seen them before. There needs to be absolute pressure on local governments that aren't keeping up with building houses where they're needed to do that. And that will then increase the confidence and hopefully bring what we really need, which is the multi-billions of investment from institutional capital to fix a problem that needs not 10 billion, not 500 million, it needs many, many more billions than we've ever seen on the table, and it can't all come from government.
Does the incentive that's being offered to the states actually do anything? It equates to about $15,000 per house if the scheme is completed as they want it to within 5 years. What are state governments actually going to do to try and get that money?
Well, I mean, I think fundamentally we're seeing here that the federal government, state governments and to an extent local governments are realising that this is an economic crisis, it's an impost on productivity. It's not just an issue that young families can't afford to live where they want to live. It has a direct input into our growth, our immigration and so on. We do welcome the 500 million. Not doing so would be looking a gift horse in the mouth. But it's a drop in the ocean, it's a step in the right direction, but we really need to deal with the fundamentals of planning. That's where the blockage is, and then once we get that done, the capital will start flowing again, your builders are going to start thriving again, and we'll get those houses affordable where we need them.
Ought there be some sort of control, given that the federal government is giving terms to the state on which they offer them this money? Ought there be some sort of control over who might be able to purchase these houses? Because, of course, you need rental stock, but they also want to encourage people to buy their first home. Is it perhaps open to people coming in who have lots of money, perhaps from overseas, and just snapping up lots of property that they know will appreciate without actually adding more stock to the market?
Oh, I think we need to be wary of that. I think we need to be wary of who's buying those houses and how we offer them to those who need the most. People who need the most are key workers. We have a member in our Tarman who runs a childcare centre, a very successful childcare centre, and the impost on her business is that highly trained people who want to work for her just can't because they can't afford to live around our Tarman. That's a very real thing in a very real part of Sydney. So I don't think we should be too afraid of people coming and buying affordable housing if it's provided en masse, but we should also pull all the levers. We should be looking at build to rent, we should be looking at long lease, and we should be looking at cheap buy, as well as the more traditional models.
David Harding, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.